अभिवादन स्वीकार करिए नीरज का कल्चर क्वांटम के इस अध्याय में. In this episode of the Culture Quantum, we are going to discuss some of the important topics which are relevant to the upcoming exams and the recent exam which is to be conducted on 16th of June, UPSC Civil Services Prelims exam. So let's go ahead with this particular important topic journey. One of the frequently asked topic is the edicts and inscriptions of the Ashoka. There are total 33 inscriptions of the Ashoka which can be categorized into minor rock inscriptions, major rock inscription, major pillar inscriptions, minor pillar inscriptions, and so as the cave inscriptions. In majority of his inscriptions, Ashoka has mentioned himself as Devanam Piya Piyadasi, which means beloved of the gods. And long before the inscriptions of Ashoka deciphered, nobody knew that who was this Devanam Piya Piyadasi. Because in the inscriptions of Ashoka, it's very rare that his name was mentioned. In the initially discovered inscriptions, only Devanam Piya Piyadasi was mentioned. So, James Prinsep, who deciphered Brahmi and Kharoshthi script, and these scripts were in the Prakrit language, he was also confused that whose name is Devanam Piya Piyadasi. And he got a clue, and this clue was from Sri Lankan chronicle of Deepavams and Mahavams, which has mentioned that Devanam Piya Piyadasi is the name of the great king Ashoka. So from here the mystery was solved that Devanam Piya Piyadasi was the name of Ashoka and the source is the Sri Lankan text of the Deepavams and Mahavams. Moving ahead, there are 4 inscriptions of Ashoka where his name Ashoka is mentioned, not Devanam Piya Piyadasi. And these inscriptions are Nittur, Udagulam, Maski and Gurjara. These minor inscriptions of the Ashoka were created in the internal parts of the Ashoka's territory, and the 14 major rock inscriptions were on the borders of his territory or the frontiers of his territory. It's a very important thing to note down that the major rock inscriptions were on the frontiers of his territory. In the last phase of the Ashoka's campaign of Dhamma, 7 major pillar inscriptions were added, and as I mentioned, please note it down that it was the last phase when the 7 pillar inscriptions were created. Then comes the 3 cave inscriptions. So these 3 cave inscriptions are in Barabar hills of Gaya, or right now the district is Jahanabad in Bihar. The cave inscriptions are located at Sudama caves, Karan Chopper cave and Vishwakarma cave of Bihar. Apart from it, Kandhar inscription of Ashoka is the most unique, and it is the only bilingual inscription of Ashoka which is written in Greek and Aramaic language. Then coming to the language and the script of the Ashokan inscriptions or Mauryan inscriptions. So the language and the script of the Ashokan inscription, majorly it was in the Prakrit language and Brahmi script, but then Kharoshthi script was also used. As far as the frontiers of the Ashoka's territories are concerned, so Greek language, Aramic language and Greek and Aramic inscriptions were also used. The next important topic which I believe is important for this exam is the Ellora cave. Ellora cave has total 34 caves, 17 belonging to Hinduism, 12 to Buddhism and 5 to Jainism. So the Buddhist caves are full of the many specimens of the Buddhism. And one of the interesting fact about the Ellora cave, that cave premise number 10 of Ellora is known as Vishwakarma cave. But as you might be expecting that it may be dedicated to the Hindu god Vishwakarma, but actually it is dedicated to the Buddha, who is regarded as the craft god in Buddhism, as he is also regarded as the craft god in Hinduism. So please make a note of it. Whenever you are asked in exam that about Vishwakarma cave of the Ellora, so mark it Buddhist cave, not the Hindu cave. Then another very interesting fact about the Ellora cave is basically it is the first site in India where Ashtabodhisattva Mandal is represented. And what is this Ashtabodhisattva Mandal? That Buddha is in the middle and he is surrounded by 8 Bodhisattvas. Some of the important Bodhisattvas are Vajrapani, Padampani, Avalokiteshvara, Akasgarbh, Kshittigarbh and Manjushri and Maitreya. So these Bodhisattvas are represented. Moreover, who are Bodhisattvas? So as I hope you must be knowing or you must have studied that Bodhisattvas are regarded as the previous birth of the Buddha. They are capable of achieving nirvana, but they postpone their own nirvana so that they can help all the sentient beings. And in many lifetimes, when they have helped large number of the sentient beings, so they naturally progresses to the path of the Buddhahood. Another very important and interesting fact about the Ellora, that it was the center of the Vajrayana Buddhism, which is the Tantric Buddhism. And many of the practices of the Ellora are very similar to the practices of Tantricism in the Hinduism. Apart from it, another interesting feature is presence of the female deities who are represented in the Ellora caves. For example, the images and the sculptures of the Tara. And Tara is the symbol of the energy, and she is considered as the counterpart of the Avalokiteshvara. So, Avalokiteshvara is the Lord who looks down with the compassion. Apart from it, there are other female deities are also represented. Second most important is the Maha Mayuri. And as far as Vajrayana Buddhism is concerned, please do remember that Vajrayana Buddhism developed in the universities or the Buddhist Mahavihars of Nalanda and Vikramshila. And it is from this particular area that Vajrayana Buddhism has made its traverse to Tibet. So now, moving on to another important topic for this year's paper, and it is basically the UNESCO heritage site and so as the UNESCO intangible art form. So when it comes to the latest UNESCO cultural heritage of humanity, Garba dance of Gujarat is the latest addition to UNESCO intangible cultural heritage of the humanity. So what is this Garba? So Garba is a festive dance or devotional dance. This dance is performed during Navratra festival, and 9 days this performance goes on. So what is the story behind the Garba dance form? So basically, in this dance form, in the center, an earthen pot is kept, and there are many holes in this earthen pot. And in this particular earthen pot, a diya or the lamp is placed, and the light of the diya is coming out from the holes. So basically, what is the importance of this earthen pot? It is the representative of the Garbha, and Garbha is the reason why it is called as Garbha or Garba. So this earthen pot is representative of the energy of the Shakti or Ma Amba, and people dance around this earthen pot in anti-clockwise fashion, and this performance continues for 9 days, and so as performance includes the recitation of the songs and some sort of mantras. Another very important fact to note down is Garba must not be confused with the Dandiya. Dandiya is a separate performance, it is not at all related to Garba. So please make a note of it. And I believe that this is an important topic which could be asked in this year's exam. On to next important topic for this year exam is the UNESCO tangible cultural heritage site, which was recently included in the list from India, and that is Santiniketan. So Santiniketan made its entry into the tangible list in year 2023. Santiniketan was actually founded by Rabindranath Tagore in 1901. Santiniketan was designed to be the center of art and the center of education, and in fact it has played a very vital role in the growth of the Bengal School of Art. In the present time, Santiniketan is better known as Vishwa Bharati University Santiniketan Bolpur area of the Bengal. One very interesting fact about the Santiniketan is the house in which Rabindranath Tagore resided is the part of the cultural heritage site, and it is in the campus of the Vishwa Bharati University Santiniketan. So moving on to the next important topic for this year exam, and this topic hasn't been asked in last 2-3 years, so the probability of this particular section to be asked in this year exam increases, and the topic is the philosophies of India or the Indian philosophy. So the Indian philosophy has been divided into or classified into 2 categories, that is orthodox philosophy and heterodox philosophy. Orthodox philosophy is also called as Sad Darshan. As the name suggests, that Shad Darshan, which means that there would be 6 schools of philosophy in Sad Darshan. So what is the basis of this classification? It is very important to note down that Shad Darshan or the orthodox philosophies are called as Astika philosophy. On the other hand, heterodox philosophy is called as Nastika philosophy. But then, as per the belief system, that Astika is the belief in the God and Nastika is the non-belief in the God. This is the idea which is not applicable. I'm again re-emphasizing on it. It is not applicable in the schools of philosophy. In the school of philosophy, Astika means belief in the divine authority of the Veda, and in the schools of philosophy, Nastika means rejection or refutation of the divine authority of the Veda. So, the 6 schools of philosophy or the orthodox schools of philosophy which accepted the divine authority of the Veda are Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisesika, Mimamsa and Vedanta. On the other hand, the heterodox philosophy, that is Nastika philosophy, includes Buddhism, Jainism, Charvak and Ajivika. And once again, I am emphasizing, please note it down, that Nastika means refutation of the belief in the Veda or rejection in the divine authority of the Vedas. It has nothing to do with the belief in the God. So moving on to another interesting aspect of the 6 orthodox schools of philosophy is the creation of the yugma in this philosophy. So for example, Sankhya and Yoga are considered as a yugma, Nyaya Vaisesika are considered as a yugma, and Mimamsa Vedanta are considered as a yugma. But what is this concept of the yugma? Basically, there is some sort of similarity between the 2 schools of philosophy, and that's why they are considered as yugma. So for example, when it comes to Sankhya and Yoga, they are a yugma on the basis of acceptance of the concept of the Purusha and Prakriti. Coming down to the Nyaya and Vaisesika, both of them are considered to be the school of logic, that is their similarity. And the last one, that is Mimamsa and Vedanta. So Mimamsa is also called as Purva Mimamsa and Vedanta is also called as Uttar Mimamsa. So their similarity is basically with the naming itself. And the word Mimamsa means reflection. So these 2 philosophies are reflections on the Vedas. So Mimamsa is the early reflection on the Veda and Vedanta is the end reflections on the Veda. That's why they are called as yugma in the orthodox philosophy. So please do remember, Sankhya Yoga is a yugma, Nyaya Vaisesika is a yugma, and Mimamsa Vedanta is a yugma. Coming to the heterodox philosophies, Buddhism, Jainism, Charvak and Ajivika are in this category. But Buddhism and Jainism are different from the Ajivika and Charvaka. So what is this difference? So basically, Buddhism and Jainism, like the other orthodox schools of philosophy, believe in the rebirth and salvation. But Charvakas completely reject the concept of salvation, and Ajivikas considered the concept of salvation as a fallacy. Another very important fact of the Astika school or 6 orthodox philosophy that you must remember, that if you get a question whereby if they are asking that they believe in birth, rebirth, death, soul, salvation, so please mark it correct. All the Astika schools, all the 6 orthodox schools of philosophy, they believe in the divine authority of Veda, they believe in the concept of soul, they believe in the rebirth, and they talk about the salvation. So please remember it. Another important topic that you all must be taking into the consideration is the temple architecture of India. So let's have a quick review of the temple architecture of India. So the temple architecture of India has a vivid variety, but some important styles are Nagar style, Dravid style, Vesar style and Hoysal style. As far as the Nagar style is concerned, it was mainly practiced in the northern part of India, and the interesting and the important or the characteristic feature of the Nagar style is the presence of the curvy linear tower Sikhar. Another thing to be noted down, that in the Nagar style generally the boundary walls were not created, and in the beginning the temples were created on the banks of the river. That's why in majority of the Nagar temples you may not find any water tank tradition. Exceptions could be there, but this is the general conception. Another thing is to be noted down, that the temples were created according to the concepts or the laws or the dharmas mentioned in the Vastu Shastra and Vishnu Dharmottar Puran. Another thing is to be noted down, be it the Nagar or the Dravid style, the tower of the temple, that is Shikhar or Viman, it is considered as equivalent to the Kailas Parvat or the Meru Parvat, which is mentioned in the Hindu literature. Another important fact to be noted down in the temple architecture, be it any style, is the Garbhagriha. As the name itself suggests, that Garbhagriha is the embryo chamber and it is the chamber of the new birth. So it is advised to the devotees that whenever they are entering inside the temple, they must go with the pure mind and they must be totally devoted to the God. And that's how, when they are totally devoted to the God, they enter with the pure mind and the soul inside the Garbhagriha. Their new birth happens. That's how many ways we call that new beginning has been made after entering into the Garbhagriha. Another often repeated question in the UPSC is based on the 12 Shiva Jyotirlingas of India. First of all, understand that what is the concept of the Shiva Jyotirlinga. It is believed that Lord Shiva manifested himself in the form of an endless light column on the 12 places in the Indian subcontinent. And it is believed that Lord Shiva resides at these 12 places, and these are one of the highly functional and highly sanctified areas in Hinduism. So where are these 12 Shiva Jyotirlinga? So the first Jyotirlinga is the Somnath of Gujarat. And apart from it, there is one more Shiva Jyotirlinga in Gujarat, which is Nageshwar. In Maharashtra, there are Trimbakeshwar, Bhimsankar and Girishneshwar. So 3 Shiva Jyotirlingas in Maharashtra. Then moving on to southern India, Mallikarjun is the Shiva Jyotirlinga in Andhra and Sri Rameshwaram is the Shiva Jyotirlinga in Tamil Nadu. Coming to the eastern India, in Jharkhand, Vaidyanath of the Devghar is another Shiva Jyotirlinga. And moving on to Madhya Pradesh. So in Madhya Pradesh, there are 2 Shiva Jyotirlinga. One is the Omkareshwar and another is the Mahakaleshwar of Ujjain. Then another Shiva Jyotirlinga is in UP, which is Kashi Vishwanath of Varanasi. And last but not the least, very important Shiva Jyotirlinga is the Kedarnath in Uttarakhand. Another very important concept to be noted down is the concept of the Char Dham. Please don't be confused that Char Dham is associated with many deities. Char Dham is only associated with the Lord Vishnu. So what are these 4 places? So these 4 places are Jagannath Puri, Badrinath, Dwarka and Rameshwaram. Let's understand the concept of the Char Dham. Dwarka is the place where Lord Vishnu is the Raja. Badrinath is the place where Lord gets into his slumber, or it is his sleeping chamber. In Jagannath Puri, he goes for his bhojan, it is his bhojanalaya, and Rameshwaram is his prayer room, his Devghar, where he worships his Ishta Devata, Lord Shiva. So another very important fact for you to remember is the establishment of the 4 Mutts by Adi Shankaracharya. In fact, Adi Shankaracharya was the first person to bring the tradition of the Mutt in the Hinduism, and he created 4 Mutts in the 4 corners of India. So the first Mutt is Sringeri Sharda Peetham in Karnataka. Second is Dwarka Peetham in Gujarat. Third is Jyotir Mutt, which is in the Badrinath Ashram Dham in Uttarakhand. And the 4th one is Jagannath Puri Peetham, which is in the Puri area of the Odisha. During the inauguration of the new parliament, a sceptre which was in the news, which was in the vogue, was the Sengol. So what is Sengol and what is the tradition of the Sengol? So Sengol actually represented the transfer of power from one to another. And historically, for the first time, Sengol was given to Jawaharlal Nehru on 14th of August 1947, and it was given to him by Tamil Adhinams, and it was symbol of the transfer of power from British authority to the newly created Indian government in the newly independent India. So similarly, when the new parliament was inaugurated by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, so Sengol was given to him by the Tamil Adhinams, and Sengol is derived from the Tamil word Semmai, which means righteousness. So Sengol is the symbol of the righteousness, though it has some religious connotations, but then it is actual symbol of the righteousness. Coming to the next important topic, which I believe is important for this year. So you all must be aware about the 8 classical forms of India and Chau, the 9th one, which is still pending. But there is one more dance form which is from Andhra, and it is also waiting for the classical recognition. So the name of the dance form is Andhra Natyam, and it is believed to be more than 2000 years old. So interesting fact about the Andhra Natyam, that it is not only associated with the temple tradition of the Andhra, but also it is associated with the Buddhist armas. In the centers of the Amaravati and the Nagarjuna Konda, this dance form was performed, and in fact we have evidences of the sculptures associated with the Andhra Natyam. So another interesting feature of the Andhra Natyam, that it respects both Telugu and Sanskrit tradition. So hopefully that this dance form may get the classical dance recognition in the near future, because it fulfills all the criteria of the classical dance. It's only pending for the recognition by the Sangeet Natak Academy. From last few years, there hasn't been question from the Indo-Islamic architecture, which means that it is an important topic for this year. So let's revise the features of the Indo-Islamic architecture. It is also called as the arcade architecture, because the arch and dome method of the construction was followed in this particular style of the architecture. The beginning of this style of architecture happened after the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate in 1206. So what are the important features? So the important features are use of brick, limestone and mortar. Apart from it, domes were the central features of the architecture of the Indo-Islamic style. Moreover, domes were not unique to India, but it also existed in the ancient times. For example, it can be said that the domes of Indo-Islamic style may have had some inspiration from the Buddhist stupas. Moving ahead, the other interesting feature of the Indo-Islamic style is the decoration through geometrical designs, arabesque designs and paitra dura technique of decoration. Apart from it, they created intricate jalis or beautiful stone tracery work to further enhance the aesthetics and the beauty of the buildings. Another thing is to be noted down, that Indo-Islamic architecture avoided the presentation of the human forms on their building, as the human representation is avoided in Islam. Then another interesting aspect or unique or important aspect of the Indo-Islamic architecture is writing of the verses from the Holy Quran, the Hadith and the Sunnah on the walls of the shrines, mosque or religious buildings. In fact, one of the very unique and interesting fact is Taj Mahal has near about 1 kilometer of the calligraphy or the verses which are written from the Holy Quran and the Hadith and the Sunnah. Another very interesting aspect of the Indo-Islamic style is the planting of the gardens around the building. Lodhis were the first who started planting gardens around the building, and this particular garden tradition became Chahar Bagh tradition, or in the today's colloquial language, Char Bagh tradition during the Mughal period, which means that in the center there would be the building, and on the four sides of the building there would be four similar identical gardens which are called as Chahar Bagh. Once a man was passing by the elephants, and he saw a weird scene, that the big creatures were tied by a small rope to a small stick. He was amazed by the fact that any time they can break free, and he was amused that why these elephants are not breaking this particular rope. Looking at this amusing scene, the person started to look out for somebody to explain this weird scene, and he found the trainer of the elephants. He asked about it, that why the elephants are not breaking free. And the trainer said that when these elephants were much smaller and very young, they used to tie the front leg of the elephants with this small rope. At that point of time, it was strong enough to hold the elephants. But then, when the elephants grew up, they were conditioned to believe that they cannot break free this rope, and they still believe that it will be holding them. So, they don't understand their potential, but they are conditioned to believe that this is what is holding them. So the moral of the story, no matter what, how much world tries to hold you back, keep the belief that what you want to achieve in life is possible, and don't hold on to the failures of your life. Failures of your life are just a lesson to understand that what you must not repeat, and you must look on to what you can do. So in this episode of the Culture Quantum, we discussed some of the important topics for the upcoming exam, and I hope that this session would be highly useful to you. Stay tuned to Culture Quantum to further widen your knowledge and to further know the aspects of the Indian culture. And please do not forget to share, subscribe, like, comment, recommend the channel Culture Quantum, and please press the bell icon. Thank you.